There is a phrase at the very heart of Zhuangzi's world, and of all Taoism that has confused people for more than 2,000 years. The phrase is Wu Wei. People hear it and they picture a man lying in a hammock, doing absolutely nothing, letting the weeds grow and the roof leak while he sips his tea and smiles at the clouds. But that is not what Zhuangzi meant, not at all. Wu Wei does not mean doing nothing. It means doing without forcing. It means acting in such a way that your action flows out of you naturally, without strain, without the constant pushing and shoving of a tense and anxious will. Think for a moment about the difference between effort and forcing. When you swim with the current of a river, you are still moving, your arms are still working, but the water carries you and the whole thing feels easy. When you swim against the current, you fight for every inch, you exhaust yourself, and the river wins anyway. Wu Wei is the first kind of movement. It is the art of going with the grain of things instead of against it. You are not passive, you are alive and engaged, but you have stopped wrestling the world to the ground. Zhuangzi loved to point at water because water is the great teacher of non-doing. Water never argues with the rock. It does not stand in front of the boulder and shout, "You are in my way, move." It simply finds the lower path, slips around the edges, fills every crack and keeps going. And here is the strange thing, the thing that delighted the Taoists endlessly. The soft, yielding water which never forces anything is precisely what carves the canyon. Given enough time, water wears down the hardest stone in the world. The yielding outlasts the rigid. The gentle defeats the strong, not by overpowering it, but by patiently flowing around it. We live in a culture that worships the opposite. We are told to push harder, to grind, to seize the day by the throat, to hustle without rest. And we know in our bones where that ends. It ends in the burnt-out person who works twice as hard and produces worse and worse results, because every action is now stiff with tension. Zhuangzi would smile at this. He would say you are like a man trying to see his reflection in churning water. The harder you stir the pond to get a better look, the muddier and more broken your reflection becomes. Stop stirring. Let it settle. Then the image appears on its own, clear and whole. That is the paradox at the center of Wu Wei. By doing less of the wrong kind of doing, you accomplish more. The skilled craftsman does not hack and saw and fight the wood. He reads the grain, he finds the natural line, and his tool seems to glide. The wise leader in the old Taoist texts governs so lightly that the people barely know he is there, and when the work is done they say, "We did this ourselves." The best help is the help that does not announce itself, does not impose, does not need to be thanked. It just quietly removes the obstacle and lets the natural movement resume. But how do we actually live this? Because it is one thing to admire water and quite another to stop forcing our own lives. Zhuangzi would say it begins with noticing. Notice the moments when you are pushing against reality instead of working with it. Notice when you are trying to control an outcome that is not yours to control, gripping the steering wheel of things that drive themselves. Notice the tightness in your chest when you are forcing a conversation, forcing a result, forcing a feeling that will not come. And then gently loosen your grip, not into laziness but into trust. Ask the better question. Where is the natural opening here? Where does this situation already want to go, and how can I move with it instead of against it? This is not weakness, and Zhuangzi was very clear about that. The reed that bends in the storm survives, while the proud, rigid oak snaps and falls. Yielding is not surrender. It is a deeper kind of strength, the strength of someone so secure that they no longer need to dominate everything they touch. They can let things unfold. They can wait. They can flow. And because they are not exhausting themselves in 1,000 needless battles, they have all their energy ready for the moment when real, decisive action is required. The master of Wu Wei is not the one who never acts. He is the one who acts at exactly the right moment, with exactly the right force, and not a drop more. When you draw all of this together, you see that Wu Wei is really about alignment. It is the deep relief of stopping the war between yourself and the way things are. So much of our suffering is simply friction, the grinding of our stubborn will against the turning of the world. Zhuangzi offers us a different posture entirely. Lay down the heavy load of forcing. Become like water, soft and patient and unstoppable. Trust that life has a current and that you can ride it rather than fight it. In that surrender, which is not defeat but harmony, there is an extraordinary lightness and a power that no amount of straining could ever buy. In the next chapter, we will follow this current even further, into what Zhuangzi called living according to nature, the art of spontaneity, of following your own true nature and the nature of all things, the way a bird follows the sky, and a fish follows the deep water without ever once being taught how.